we have Alex talking about what does beginner-friendly really mean. Give a huge round of applause to Alex, our next speaker.
Hi, everyone. I'm Alex Cooper, and I run the IEEE Young Prodigies group, a bunch of high school and early college coding geniuses who would mostly be considered beginners in the hackathon scene. I, too, consider myself a beginner, having coded for a mere 9 years. But I'm not alone in this kind of irony. A lot of people, especially underrepresented groups in tech, can suffer from imposter syndrome. And as a result, beginner-friendly hackathons can increase the diversity in your hackathon scene. But it doesn't just benefit them. It also benefits, actual beginners, as well as people in adjacent fields to coding, things like design and entrepreneurship, things that are crucial in the tech world. So how do we make a beginner-friendly coding scene? Well, the key is wholesale accessibility. But first, I'd like to talk about how to actually get beginners into your hackathon. The first key is to reach underrepresented schools, especially if you're an MLHer. Groups not only like demographic ones, such as historically black or historically women's colleges, but also schools like liberal arts schools that might not have as much of a tech focus. You'd be surprised at what people can come up with. In addition, you should advertise to non-CS focused groups within your school, such as the cafeteria and the dorms. That way it's accessible to everyone, not just your CS clubs and classes. Finally, when people start applying to your hackathon, try not to make the application too complicated, requiring essays or resumes or previous experience. You get a pass on this if you're MIT, but nothing is worse to somebody who is already about to put themselves into a scary situation than having like a smaller pre-scary pre-situation. But once you've gotten people into your hackathon, then we can get to wholesale accessibility. Essentially making sure that everyone can be included in as many aspects of the hackathon experience as possible, from education to building to competition. So how do we achieve that? Well, let's talk about the education aspect first. When you're giving a workshop, especially one geared towards beginners, it's important to start by focusing on the how and the why instead of just the what. For example, if you're giving an introduction to HTML, CSS, JS, actually explain what those things are before jumping into, okay, let's code a website. It's good to understand the building blocks behind what you're actually doing because this gives you a larger perspective on how to apply this knowledge in the future, as opposed to just doing it at the hackathon and never again. This also works the same way with mentorship. Explaining why a certain command might work on the command line is a good way to make sure that a beginner can use it again. But outside of just education, we have the competition aspects. Now, you may be saying, okay, a hackathon is much more than a competition, and that's true. But I got half of the stuff I'm wearing at a hackathon, and more importantly, making sure people are involved in the competitive aspects of a hackathon makes sure they can join teams and feel included, something that is key for continuing to allow them to be involved in the tech space. One way you can do this is by pairing beginners with other beginners, by making beginner categories. And you can level up these beginner categories by not just having one. Especially if you're a big hackathon, make sure that beginner categories include the actual tracks that you're giving or themes that you're giving to non-beginners. UVA did a great job of this with its 3 tracks and beginner awards. There are also the idea of giving prizes for certain parts of the hackathon project. This awards innovation and entrepreneurship. Examples of hackathons that did this are Hack the Woods, a high school hackathon I recently attended, which had a pitch-based track, Cypher, which had a best hack that doesn't work track, and VT Hacks 3, which gave best presentation and most original project. Sharik Hashmeh of Bitcamp says that compartmentalization of the hackathon projects can come in both coming up with ideas and actually building the projects. So on top of ideas, you can actually do building things to pair beginners with non-beginners and make sure everyone can contribute without feeling left out. That's why you can design existing challenges to have your people come up with solutions to an already existing problem, giving them a prompt. And this is great for your sponsors. Overall, The hackathon scene and making it more beginner-friendly means that it can be inclusive to everyone. And it can give 9-year-long beginners like me and the people I teach a chance to be involved in a space that can make a more diverse hackathon scene, and one that people like Swift from MLH can be involved in today. Thank you.